Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the CEO Talk Mumbai. This is an initiative by The Talk. The Talk is a very strong platform to establish powerful relationships amongst the business. This event is brought to you by Tata Telebusiness Services. It is the country's leading enabler of connectivity and collaboration, offering services ranging from connectivity, cloud security, IoT, and marketing solutions. Tata Telebusiness Services also offers the largest ICT services in India. Now, I would like to start this panel discussion by introducing all the lovely panelists who have joined us. But before that, I'd also like to introduce the theme of today's session. It is Rising to the Challenge with Tech Advantage. Now, I know this is a virtual session, but let us give a good round of applause as I introduce the speaker's name so that we have a good energy flowing inside the room. I'd like to start by introducing Mr. Umesh Kunte, Director, CMC Private Limited. Thank you so much for welcoming, sir. Followed by Mr. Vinay Vishwanath, Associate Vice President, Lab Systems. Welcome, sir. Thank you so much for joining with us. Followed by Mr. Radharaman Panikar, Director, Dangerous Goods Management, India Private Limited. Welcome, sir. Very, very happy to have you with us. And Mrs. Tanuja Gomez, CEO, FSM Education Private Limited. Thank you so much for having us. And we're also expecting the presence of Nabedu Chakraborty, sir, Director, Telstar Industries Private Limited. Thank you, everyone. And I'm also pleased and honored to recognize the presence of Janice ma'am, who has always been a constant source of support for all the talk in the Mumbai region. Welcome, ma'am. And we would like to have a small introduction or welcome note from you.
Thank you. So a very good afternoon to all the eminent speakers and to all the people who have logged in and who are part of this CXO Roundtable series, which is brought by Tata Tele Business Services. So I'll give a short introduction about Tata Tele Business Services. What are its core strengths and what is it that they are focusing in the market? So we have all seen and experienced in the last year that COVID-19 has acted as a tipping point for digital transformation of the workplace. And this will speed up further as technology is now a vital pilot on which enterprises are totally dependent for their business continuity and growth. Digital agility, thus, is becoming a critical factor for the workforce to communicate and collaborate effectively both internally and with customers. As a country's leading technology enabler, Tata Tele Business Services has been empowering enterprises with voice, data, and managed services to develop deep digital capabilities, build resilience, and enhance operational efficiency. Enterprises are moving fast on their digital curve and are embracing hybrid work culture that allows them to service their customers from anywhere and anytime. To meet this growing demand, we have strengthened our portfolio of services such as cloud-based communication solutions, collaboration solutions, IoT, data management, and cybersecurity solutions. We have recently launched an advanced cloud communication suite by the name SmartFlow, which combines an uninterrupted flow of business communication with intelligent call routing and monitoring. Not only this, it also offers on-demand scalability, which allows businesses to adapt quickly to changing business conditions. And today, we have seen that security, cybersecurity, how important it is. Therefore, SmartFlow also comes with enterprise-grade security and reliability. Cyber attacks like phishing, ransomware, etc., have become far more pervasive and sophisticated, especially during the pandemic. To address this, Tata Tele Business Services has enhanced its cybersecurity portfolio to provide a world-class security platform to offer email security, web security, next-generation firewall, endpoint security, and multi-factor authentication security services. Therefore, enterprises now have access to a comprehensive smart perimeter security proposition that is robust, scalable, and can be rapidly deployed at an affordable cost. TTBS has further strengthened its suite of work from anywhere solutions to meet the demands of the hybrid workforce, Solutions like hosted IVR allows enterprises to quickly set up distributed call centers and enable agents to work from home. Others like hosted PBX, or audio and web conferencing solutions, international bridging services ensure connectivity and collaboration amongst teams spread geographically across the globe. TTBS is also a trusted provider of IoT services that are designed to facilitate real-time tracking for informed decision making. TTBS's IoT portfolio comprises of asset management, fleet management tracking, school bus tracking, and workforce management. For the last 2 decades, our deep customer engagement has helped us to develop solutions that would enable enterprises to compete and win in their respective business segments. We will continue to play the role of technology enabler by strengthening our portfolio of services, especially in the areas of connectivity, collaboration, SaaS, IaaS, IoT, and cloud, while simultaneously enhancing our network and sales reach capability to cover as much of the enterprise footprint as possible and enable them to do this. Thank you once again for sparing your time and joining this session. I'm sure it will be an insightful one for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Janice, for that lovely introduction and setting up the tone on the very high note. And that was a beautiful explanation about all the services of TTBS. Thank you so much, Janice. All right. So let's quickly jump on to the panel discussion round. So the much awaited and the excited portion of the day. So as I told you, this is going to be a full-length panel discussion. I have a few set of questions with me, and I would love to understand the perspective from each and every one of you. As I said before, the first two questions are going to be very generic questions. So let us, take just 90 seconds to answer them. And moving forward, we'll definitely hear from you on brief. All right. So I would like to start by, just looking back. To be very precise, this is the last week last year that was very normal, right? Because the next week was pandemic, the start of the pandemic. So this was probably the last week, the last year we all enjoyed by being in so-called normalcy. So the pandemic came in and it did cause a lot of ruckus in both personal and professional life for few, and some did ride on a unicorn. There were a lot of businesses that flourished during the pandemic as well, right? So speaking about which, I would like to understand, how did pandemic affected you and its impact on your business revenues? So I'd like to start with Umesh. Yes, over to you. So you're not audible. Please unmute. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Yes.
Am I okay?
Yes. Perfect.
As rightly you said, last year, exactly almost the same time, we were normal. This year, exactly after 1 year, I can say we are new normal. So in a sense, we are back to normal. But yes, during these 12 months, it has been a roller coaster ride. And we across all industries, I think it's not a particular industry specific. We as an economy, we can say the global economy, the country economy, the micro economy, everywhere, we all have gone through a phase, and which I call it in 3 words. The first phase was pause. When the entire lockdown happened, we all came into instant break, the pause. I call it as a pause. Then the next small phase followed by pause is a stop. We thought it's a momentary pause. When the lockdown happened, we all of us, we were in the impression that this may be a couple of weeks or at the most a 1 month. So we were happy about that pause, and we started enjoying that lockdown era, as an industry and as an individual, all of us. But then we realized it's not a pause; it's a stop, and the stop lasted for more than a couple of months. And then the jittery started getting into our nerves. But then the resurgence came in the last quarter of the last year, the October, November, December. The resurgence came in, and now we are back to normal. So that's the whole journey of the last 12 months. I particularly represent the consulting practices, and I also come from the healthcare domain. Consulting practices, yes, we took a instant hit, because when the business was shut, I think there was the consulting practices also got shut. But then we came back, much more stronger in the resurgent phase, because everybody was in rush to bounce back and grow. And that's where I think they realized it. They need an external support or the help, and that's where we came in. Coming to my industry, another industry which I represent is healthcare or pharma in particularly. I think it was a mixed bag. We also had, our own negative things. But being a basic healthcare industry, the healthcare industry was fairly doing good rounds and trying to save the people from the pandemic. So overall, healthcare industry has done well, but the dynamics of the industry changed completely. Completely, when I say from the non-digitization, right? The pharma industry has completely become a digitized industry today, and that's, I think, the plus side of the pandemic. That's what from my side.
Thank you, Umesh sir. Yes, over to Radharaman sir. I'd like to hear from you.
I think Umesh rightly put it correctly, the phases. So when it started, I thought, okay, much needed break, though it was a situation where we were really in a bit of a soup, because generally the month of March is where, you make up the year business in the logistic area, because everybody is in a rush to move their freight out and all that. So we lost a lot of material out there. So the first month it was like, okay, good break. Let's. That's when we discovered the Zoom with a vengeance and all the virtual medias and all that. And after 1 month, 2 months, then we started getting nervous, because you cannot sustain the business, and you start cutting salaries, and you got to start telling the staff we don't know how it's going to go. When the fourth month came, we were really on the verge. So I thought we are going to see close down. And then the magic happened. Our one big customer suddenly woke up and said, get back to the office. We don't know what you are doing. Get back to the office, move our cargo out. And it's like the much needed the vaccine for us when the vaccine was not discovered. Okay, it only energized us. And we came back. And fortunately, we managed to see through the COVID situation, because at a very small SME level, any change, even 5-10%, can hit us really bad. Which is the training business, which is basically physically oriented, was totally hit. We had a drop of revenue of almost like 80%. Unfortunately, because we do regulatory training, our regulators did not allow us online, though we kept on insisting, pressurizing them. Finally, somewhere during the end of August, they said, okay, with this condition, that condition, social distancing, what not, you get going. But people are still scared. Why should I come for training? I'm still scared I will get afflicted by COVID. So we had a very bad situation. So slowly, I discovered the beauty of the online channels, and
Sir, I'm very sorry to interrupt. Can you please keep it a little short, sir?
Yeah. So we get into Zoom. We did a little bit of training, trying to do some innovative this thing. So somehow or the other, as I said, we managed to survive.
Wonderful. Amazing, sir. So two of them did have a tough time, I guess. But I think Tanuja ma'am was all of smile. I think she was the one who rode the unicorn during the pandemic. So let us ask her. So how was pandemic to you, ma'am, and its impact on this revenue?
Yeah, I think, for us, it was different. So when in March last year, same time, we had 75,000 students learning music with us. We had 200 schools, like 350 employees. Already, we had another 100 schools with LOI. So that's where we are. Okay. Anyways, it was always my dream to go pivot online. That's something that I was always exploring from 2017 and 18. So I think when the whole COVID setting, frankly, in my mind, it was, wow, it's a damn good opportunity, because customers are engaging online. See, if you look at the world, like China has huge number of students learning only online. Whenever we tried, eventually people were not comfortable. I'm sure if any one of y'all, I would have said that learn music online, you would say, hey, how can you learn? It's like buying vegetables online, right? Tell any housewife 10 years back that you have to buy everything online. She'll say, I can go walking, choose what I like. Why should I do it online? The onset of COVID transformed these habits. And frankly, while our business, like I told you, 200 schools, all that came to a standstill. It was like a tsunami. We had to, on one hand, be extremely agile, aggressive with our tech initiatives. And on the other hand, we had to actually also look at our P&L more closely. How do we manage? Because one has to write that. How do we manage that? So that's what we did. Thankfully, I'm very excited. Like, now we have almost about 3,500 classes happening every week. So that is the change that has happened. Of course, our old business was huge, and I'm sure that will get back. But personally, I feel very excited that those consumers have been able to experience. Today, we have students from all across the world. We have teachers from all over India. All my teachers are right now in Darjeeling, Shillong, different parts of the India, and they're doing a wonderful job. So yes, it has its pros and cons, but very excited about the transition.
All right. Thank you, Tanuja ma'am. Yes, to Vinay sir.
Yes. So in terms of rightly put by the earlier panelists, the first phase was to understand that we are going to have a long halt now. So we represent a business that does fraud investigations, deals with government institutes as well as privates. So when every function of the government and corporates are stopped, basically there is no fraud happening. No one wants to investigate anything. No, there is no action happening anywhere. But as and when the corporate started functioning back, they started working from home. A lot of them did not realize that they had a lot of policy gaps which would enable their employees to do a lot of frauds. And work from home culture was fairly new. Data sanitization and where the data resides onto one's laptop was a question as well. So those were the second phase when we restarted. I believe the entire nation restarted. Those were the times when we saw a lot of frauds emerging, cyber frauds, physical employee frauds as well. And that enabled us to do a bit of business. But yes, the business has suffered. The government vertical is still, we are trying to recoup from it because when last year the COVID hit us, it was right at the end of the financial year. There was no government budget which was released, and throughout the year we have seen that very limited government budget has come in to the forensic laboratories as such, or the law enforcement departments. So while that is the story, we look forward for a very exciting journey with the smart cities and the next gen of law enforcement and technological policing that is happening across India.
All right. Thank you so much, Vinay. So that was a good round of input from all the people. I think it has been a mixture of experience to all the panelists out here. Moving on to yet another very generic question, requesting the panelists once again to keep your answers little short. So as an entrepreneur, one thing which all connects us is the ability to think what next, right? No matter whatever the problem comes in, no matter whatever the hindrance is coming right away, as an entrepreneur, you're always trained to think what next. All right, so what next? What is the solution? So on that aspect, I'd like to understand, how do you foresee the closing of this fiscal year, right? So how do you foresee, is it going to be on a positive note or is it going to be a negative note? How do you foresee the financial year-end closing? I'd like to start with Umesh, sir. Over to you.
Well, I think the answer is a little mixed. Among all my clients with whom I deal with, there are many industries we will close on a negative note. Unfortunately, when I say closing of this financial year, I'm talking about next 3 weeks,
okay,
the end of March this year. Okay, majority of the industries will close on a negative note compared to the sales on year-on-year basis, or on the profitability objectives not being met. Majority of the industries, but there are certain industries with whom I am dealing with, like say typical IT or information technology related companies. Pharma is another space. The digital companies, and then many of them are the mid-sized SMEs. I think they will do a far better job. And I think, as Radharaman also said, some of the logistic companies, and I deal with one of them, is they have bounced back in second half much brighter to ultimately close the year much more positively than what they had thought of in the first half. So it's a mixed bag of reactions across all the industries. Overall, I will say, we will close on a neutral. We have covered up in last 6 months what we have lost in the first 6 months. By and large.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much, Umesh sir. Is over to Radharaman sir.
Yeah, from my perspective, our industry, that's logistic, as Umesh rightly said. Fortunately, COVID did very well for them because there was a huge demand for moving the goods out, especially the air cargo industry. They had exorbitant price going forward. I'm not saying the airline made money, but at least the logistic guys are going to close positively.
Okay.
In there, the hotel industry, the airline industry, the shipping lines are going to be really badly hit
Right.
because of the demand issues which were there, and they're not able to move their planes out. From our perspective, my own business, yeah, we will possibly close a little bit in the positive territory.
All right, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much, Radharaman sir. Over to Tanuja, ma'am. Ma'am, please unmute yourself. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes.
On the financial basis, we will close on a negative note. But I think on the value basis, hugely positive, because the skill set that we have acquired in the last 12 months is frankly really changed it. The whole technology skill set about managing and transition, pivoting the whole organization. To me, that's a huge accomplishment. It's like I think I now refer it as BC, before COVID, after COVID. Life is completely different. So I feel eventually the current negative, but the whole overall learning has been hugely positive.
Wonderful. And again, a new jargon, the BC of the 21st century is before COVID, I guess. Is over to Vinay, sir.
So for us as an organization, the last 6 months has been decent. The first 6 months were challenging. We thought that we might really close on a very negative note, not just on something that would actually devastate us. But the last 6 months have been a real boost. Looking at the variety of frauds that happen in the corporate world, the number of ransomware attacks, the cyber security attacks at various places, that has really enabled us as a company. While it has disabled a few organizations, the attacks, it has enabled us revenue-wise in fixing those issues or analyzing those issues. So we will end it on a positive note. But yes, this year is also a year of investment into technologies. A lot of revenue we see by a lot of organizations getting invested in technologies that we would not consider in terms of investigations. Something like augmented reality. Today, the law enforcement agencies want to look at crime scene not just physically, but they want to, once they are back in their respective investigative offices, they want to have a VR glass and want to have the feel of the crime scene again. So the COVID has also pushed the customers to adopt technology, and that has really enabled us to close it on a positive note.
All right. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Vinay. So yet again, a good set of inputs from all the lovely panelists. Moving forward, one thing that that was a huge surprise to all of us during this COVID is the culture of work from home, right? So before, as Tanuja rightly said, BC, it was just an idea. We had a lot of debate whether is it going to work or how practical is it going to be and everything. But I think moving forward, that is going to be predominantly followed by all the corporates, right? So talking about which, I would like to understand for your business in particular. All right. So for your business, what do you think is going to be the best method that is going to work? Is it going to be the office setup, or is it going to be work from home, or is it going to be the hybrid model? But instead of voicing out your opinion, let's just do something very interesting this time. So let's do their actions, no? Because actions always speaks louder. So if it is going to be an office setup, raise your, just give me a lift thumbs up. Or if it is going to be work from home, give me a right thumbs up. Or if it is going to be hybrid, just give me a namaste. So what is it going to be? Okay. Work from home for Radharaman sir, and
I said left, sorry.
all right, office setup for you, is it, sir? Radharaman sir. All right. So apart from
I
Radharaman
think
sir,
like this.
okay, that
I am work from home from an office more.
wonderful. So
Yeah.
it's again, it was supposed to be a full board, but again, Radharaman sir opted for the office model, I guess.
Yeah,
Right, sir?
because we're action oriented, so we have to be at the
All
office.
right, understood. So wonderful. So yes, so hybrid is going to be predominant every year, at least around 90% of the places, because we did get a taste of how it is sitting at home, at the comfort of home, and still getting works done. Eliminating a lot of overheads. Wonderful. So moving forward, as I told a few minutes before, as an entrepreneur, we always look forward for what next, right? We always build up strategies to make sure that our business still goes running, hit the ground, right? So talking about which, during the pandemic, what was the technology adoption, right? You adopted during the lockdown to ensure your business continuity. So that will be my next question. So what was the technology adoption you initiated during the lockdown to ensure business continuity? I would like to start this round once again with Umesh. Sir, over to you.
Okay, I think it's a big loaded question, and just pouring in all the things what we did in last 12 months or the experience is very difficult. So I will just give you one quick thing what we did, and I was the driver and the consultant for this for the specifically for pharma industry. Okay, so as all of you know, the general knowledge, the medical representative who is a salesman who goes and sells the products to the doctors. And in this pandemic, it was difficult for him because there was a restriction on physical movement. There was a lockdown. There was a, the inability to move around. And at the same time, they were not allowed to enter the hospital. They were not allowed to meet the doctors. And the pharma industry cannot survive unless and until the medical reps go to the doctor. And that's where I think this is a classic example. That's where we completely had a disruptive mindset, and we said let's not get bogged down by inability to have a physical meeting with the doctors and promote the products. Okay, how can we do the tech? How can we use the technology? And we developed, and my company we developed, and web based like a Zoom, but we developed much more integrated, personalized video calling platform which can do a scheduling of the doctor's appointment, schedule the selection of the products to be detailed to the doctors. We could record the doctor's feedback. We could take the doctor's responses. So we did a complete integrated a video platform for calling of each and every medical reps to all the doctors, and which had an AI based the algorithms. So everything was done technologically, and we launched it in the month of June in the peak of the COVID, and the entire pharma industry embraced this technology very well. And that's what is a classic example how we learn new things. And as I mentioned, in fact, we coined the new terminology we called physical. So
Okay.
from a physical to digital, we said, okay, let's have the medical reps have the physical technology. And now everything is coming back to the normal, but industry has not given up the digital. They have also gone back to the physical, but they have not given the
Wonderful.
digital
True.
platform, and then they have become the phygital now.
All right. Thank
So
you.
that's
Thank you.
just an example from my side.
Wonderful, man. I'm really starting to love this panel discussion. I'm getting lots and lots of jargons. Earlier it was BC, and now we have phygital. I think I'm just looking forward to what are all remaining. Just quickly over to Radharaman, sir. Your opinion, please.
Yeah, okay, not much of a digital adoption by us because we were already having a bit of technology being used. But the biggest change was we have forgotten what it feels like to travel. The meetings is across the video, the thing. So even today, if we pick up the phone, we really want to talk to somebody else looking at the video and not the audio signal at all. Okay, so that's a big change. And that has now made us wonder, I had a huge amount of cost in terms of my travel. And this year, my travel cost was almost like zero. And we're wondering, that's a good benefit there. The second thing that is there is, one has to look at going forward, what is the risk? Because we never thought about risk. We never really imagined that we will face such type of risk there. So we need to plan for the risk, and that's something that we are really looking at. So I call it Zoom it, and I call it look at the risk. Two things that are going to be the focus area for us.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Radharaman, sir. Yes, Zoom it. Noted, sir. Yes, over to
It's like Xerox for
Exactly.
printing. So Zoom it for all video application.
True. Very true. Very true, sir. Yes, over to Tanuja,
Yeah.
ma'am.
So, from the digital world, I think we focused a lot on the customer journey. I think technology is an enabler. Earlier architecture was monolithic to now what kind of architecture we build, the whole platform, white labeling, whether it is Zoom or any such web interface. I feel those enablers were looked very closely, and how my whole customer journey can be managed. And that's how we focus. It's not just one technology platform really, or get moving into that. My core is my customer. How do I ensure they can buy music books easily, or they get a PDF? How can they practice and they can get a real-time assessment? So all those points is where we moved on technology, everything digitally. So that has been the whole experience part is where the transition has been. not just one. I can't give you one such thing. Of course, this whole web-based interaction has enabled all of this, right? If these kind of interactions were not there, we would have not been able to do it. Skype was there, but we maximize all this right now. So, but managing the customer journey has been the core thing that I personally have been focusing on.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Januja ma'am. Yes, over to Vinay sir.
So for us as a company, individualistically to enable people to actually communicate was the first thing. Communication, that there is a seamless communication. The second part was into having a seamless data transfer, because we work on files. It has to be secure, passed through a VPN. So working from home, having a secure network, transferring of files, that was the second part. Apart from this, as a company, we have invested quite a bit in training methodologies, because to keep the team excited about new technologies is always a challenge. Adoption rate is lower in the initial days. So that was a journey that we took. For our customers that we consulted, there were a few technologies which we found very interesting. The first one was video analytics on CCTV. There can be social distancing algorithms that could maintain, and a person sitting back here in Mumbai could monitor 10 factories and understand if people are actually using the PPE kit. Are they 6 feet apart from each other? Transforming their attendance system with a biometric system. So those were the technologies that enabled them. Along with that, something that we found out which was missing in a lot of corporate sector entities was the necessary policies. With the work from home and bring your own device kind of a working culture, who owns the data when there is a fraud? Who owns the device when there is a fraud? If a home network is being compromised, in that case, where does the liability lie? Is that the employee who has not taken safeguard measures to have a secure network, or is it the company who has not enforced it rightfully? So that kind of policy gaps is something that we had seen in the past as well.
Right. Wonderful, wonderful. So again, there were a lot of inputs, but what I would like to tell you at this moment is this technology has always been there, right? All the advancements and the technology has always been there, but this COVID has simply made us to embrace it quicker than what we have planned is what had happened, right? So moving forward, everything has its own pros and cons, right? Absolutely. If you take anything, every Tom, Dick, and Harry has its own pros and cons. So let's just talk about on the technological aspect, the digital normal or phygital, as Umesh said. So whatever it is. So what were some of the biggest challenges when you were on the verge of adopting to the digital normal? So that will be my next question. So I'd like to once again start with Umesh. Sir. Over to you.
See, I think the biggest challenge was, I will put that there are three challenges, to be very honest, because this pandemic was not something which was planned. It was like a tsunami. So the three challenges which we faced across all the industries is, one was mindset. I think the industry at large and even the customers at large were not prepared to embrace the digital technology. So the mindset was a big challenge. Second thing was the resources. Okay, so when the pandemic came in, everything came so suddenly that most of the organizations have not or arranged or even budgeted any kind of resources for their technology. Okay, so the mindset, resources, and third is the training and the learning. I mean, I can give you, I can go on and give you all experiences which I have faced in retail, in furniture, in consumer industry, or the education industry, even which probably to an extent Tanuja represents here, but even the healthcare where I come from. So I can give you the my experience across multiple industries. People not even where so upskilling and reskilling. If I have to put it in a jargonistic word, that's where the another challenge. So there are three major challenges which we faced, as I said, the timing, resources, and the upskilling and reskilling of the people.
All right. Thank you, Umesh, sir. That was three challenges faced by the entrepreneurs. Yes, let's hear from Radha Ramat, sir, about his point of view. What to you, sir?
Yeah, the biggest I think challenge which this COVID caused with digitization is that you lost all sense of your office timing. You're working all the time. You really don't know when you're going to sleep, when you're going to get up. Okay, so and now because it's with vengeance that people are using the video technology and across the world. So somebody is calling from US, he thinks that he can call up at midnight and still speak to you. Somebody is calling from Far East and say he calls up in the morning when you're sleeping. He thinks you're okay. So everybody has lost the sense of timing. The second thing is everything is available on the tap now. You want something, just go to the Google it, you get it over there. I mean, people are talking with the, I mean, going to the online with the vengeance. The third important aspect, contracts. Earlier days, if you do not have a contract which is signed, people say this is not a contract. Today, they accept digital signature or some scribbled out note. Just because you send it electronically is acceptable. Same contract, same set of people, their legal department were raising objection. Today, everybody is okay with it. So, I mean, this is a very big change to what Umesh already said.
Wonderful, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Radharaman. As you said, this cold was a big irony. We all thought we would be very free during the pandemic, but in reality, we were actually doubly busy than the normal lives because of the lot of video conferencing and the meetings. Yes, at this juncture, I will also like to welcome Nabendu Chakraborty, sir. Thank you so much for joining with us. All right, moving on, we'd like to understand the perspective of Vinay, sir. Over to you.
So in terms of challenges with digital adoption, the first was it was a forced mindset. We were all locked into our homes. So we were already feeling that we were forced to be inside. And the second part was we were forced to adopt new technologies. We were forced to do video calls. We were forced to, share rooms, lock it out, and have video calls such that, the other people in the family do not get disturbed. So we were, me, myself, my wife, everyone was having video calls in different rooms. And there was a certain set of bandwidth clogging as well. In the suburban areas, we have seen that with the rise of a lot of broadband connections and a lot of users, it has really in the initial days it was a challenge to get the necessary bandwidth to get on a video call. So you used to get your hotspot and work on top of it. So the one is the forced mindset, and second is with the need is the infrastructure around you increasing or adapting at the same pace, because unless the infrastructure, the bandwidth and the processing powers keep increasing along with the technologies. The earlier panelists have talked about technologies as such and how a contract earlier day without a sign, I cannot believe that we would ever get into a contract or a legal agreement. But today, when it is digitally signed using a digital signature, we are very much in acceptance of it. So those were the challenges in terms of majorly in adoption and getting the team to move ahead with the right set of technologies.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Vinay. Yes, Nabendu, sir. So we are discussing about some of the biggest challenges enterprises faced while adopting to the digital normal. So for adopting the technology and stuff, what were the biggest challenges the enterprises were facing? Can I have a small perspective from your end, Nabendu, sir? Nabendu, sir, am I audible? Sir, are you with us, Nabendu, sir? Okay, let's quickly move on. Let's come back to Nabendu, sir. I think he has a small problem with this audio. All right, so moving forward, I would like to, but before that, so we were talking about the adoption of technology, and I think it is the right time, to thank the Tata Telebusiness Services. They have been, absolutely brilliant in providing lots and lots of services, and I did learn a lot during the course of the CEO sessions, especially during the cloud telephony. That was, such a big boon to a lot of companies. So we are very grateful to Tata Telebusiness Services. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, Nabendu, sir, are you with us again? Like, I can see you. Can you hear me? All right. Then moving forward, let's just talk about the solutions this time. So what kind of enterprise solutions you feel can enhance your business productivity? Yeah? The enterprise solutions that you feel can enhance your business productivity. I'd like to start with Umesh, sir. Over to you.
Well, there are many different enterprise solutions are now available, and if I am referring my references to the SME sector right now. So there are a lot of ERP solutions which I think the SMEs should now adopt, and they have many of them have already done because they have learned it from this pandemic how digital platforms, or how the integration of the technology into their businesses can really help them to work much more smoothly and efficiently in this current problem time. In fact, most of the organizations with whom I was dealing with in this phase, we have integrated their traditional systems in and migrated them to a much more automated, technologies and the ERP solutions. Unfortunately, I have not been able to use them in my I will contact Genis and I will recommend Tata Teleservices also.
Sure.
But yes, many companies have used the cloud telephony services, especially for the tracking of the customer responses, or closing the deals, or converting the leads into the businesses. In fact, very effectively, it has been used for funneling as well, as we talk on the digital and social marketing medias. So the industries definitely have used most of
Yeah.
this technology.
Thank you, Umesh sir. Is over to Radharaman sir.
Well, we have not really gone into any enterprise solution at the moment, but we are really actively looking at it because there is a big disjointed efforts between our sales and the accounting. So we need to close that gap. The other one is in our training where we want to connect, as Tanuja gave me some really brilliant thought now here, that I need to connect to my customers in a very more engaging manner because we do a lot of regulatory training which can become a little boring as well as dense, so I need to make it exciting, and technology is probably the way to go forward in this.
Wonderful sir. Radharaman sir. Yes, over to Tanuja ma'am.
So we have Void Tech. We took another company at that point of time when we were moving and managing the funnel and all the challenges, people sitting from home. So we did take a cloud telephony provider. But yeah, I'm not fully convinced about the efficiency yet. But now, we've trained an entire ecosystem with that. So we just give them some time and then probably circle back to Tata Tele and explore. I do have some friends, in fact, during my MBA days from Tata Tele. So yeah, I mean, we do have something, and in future we can definitely explore.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Tanuja ma'am. Yes, Vinay sir, over to you.
So basically, for any business, understanding the customer who is the key. More analytics you have, more understanding, more segmentation you can do for the customer. Understand their insights. It is always going to be valuable. Since my Nielsen days, I have been trained to think in a particular way of understanding their behavior patterns. So for that, I believe the modern day would require something like a social media intelligence platform, which enables us to get in the insights in terms of their sentiments on various kind of platforms, not just a Instagram or a Facebook, but what has been happening in terms of news activities and all such information. So this generally is called as open source intelligence. The law enforcement uses it for finding out the criminals, whereas the same technology can be used by corporate sectors to understand their market sectors, their competitors, as well as their customers in a much better way.
All right. Wonderful, Vinay sir. So that was again a good sound, good round of inputs. Yes, Nabendu sir, are you with us? Can you hear me now? So I think you have to connect to your audio. There is an option called connect to audio. I think you have to connect your audio to listen to me or to talk in turn. Yes, moving forward, let's quickly move on to the next question. Everyone had our own strategy that has to be followed during the pandemic, right? So to put it very simple, Ratanji said, this year is just for survival. Let's take care of the business next year. So this year, let's just survive. That's what Ratanji rightly said. So talking about that, what was that one thing that worked very well for your business, which you would like to share with the others here? So I'd like to start with Umesh, sir. Over to you.
Uh, yeah, see, one thing which really worked, in my business practices, and I think this is what I strongly recommend to others also to do this, is we were quite open, for the change. And when the pandemic came, there are a couple of things which we did. Is we realized what's the current set of problems represents. What's the problem? It was not the some virus called coronavirus was a problem. That is just a cause. So we had to understand is what is the problem in our business. We can't just be saying that corona is a problem or a covid is a problem or a lockdown is a problem. That is not the problem. So as a business, if you really understand what is the exact problem, how does the problem represent to you, if you understand that well, then you will start working on the solutions of it. So that's what my take to, or my give to most of the people is, be open. Be open to the external environment, and take this stock of the situation. You will understand what it needs to handle the situation. So that's my point number one. Point number two, I think, as I said earlier also, we were the first one to embrace the technology. One thing which COVID has taught to all of us across the world is that there is something called as technology. If we just ignore the technology, gone are those days where we can do our businesses purely based on human relationships.
True.
That's definitely given. That's definitely given. It's a foundation of any business. But I think what sits on top of the human capital or human relationships is the technology. Anybody who has embraced, who has changed, adopted, right, the technology, and integrated that technology into their business, they, as Ratanji said, they have not only survived, they are growing now. So it was not only essential for us to for our survival, but it was absolutely integral for our growth for the future. So the two things, a right mindset and embracing the technology, are the two things which helped me, which helped the industries.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Umesh sir. Yes, over to Radharaman sir.
For me, a little background to it. Uh, in our building, one of the old member expired suddenly. I mean, he was there with us, and next day he was not there. So one of the other member came and told me, "This Panikar, what's happening? I mean, we are not met. COVID, no COVID. We are not met. We're staying in the same building." And then I looked back and I said, "It's the same thing with the customer. Just because the COVID was there, we're forgetting the customer." So I started calling up every single customer that I knew, and I said, "How are you? Are you safe? Are you okay? Okay, just to know that okay, I care for him. I know I want him to be safe. No talking about business, nothing. Just general chit chat on there." The second important element is most of the SME business never think of risks. For them, whatever money comes in, take it out, use it away. But this COVID showed us how bad a strategy that is. Then we started blaming the government. The government is not helping. I'm also one of them, blaming the government. But what did I do to create that small corpus which could have helped me in this dire time? So I think as a SME business, we need to look at our risk very, very quickly, better, and in a very, very focused manner, and build the small kitty to take care of such problems, because such problems are going to come again and again.
Wonderful, sir. Thank you, Radharaman sir. Yes, Tanuja ma'am, over to you.
For me, it was a lot of my leadership skills which came to play and tested. As soon as, it was 23rd, 25th March, I remember while I was extremely excited that all customers are going to learn, there's one philosophy that me and my co-founder really came together with, is transparency. Like I shared that we had over 350 people working with us. We knew that at that point of time, we didn't know what's going to happen. Let me be honest. I didn't know the impact that, because business just shut, right? All offline business shut, schools shut. So there's no revenue then. But what we did, I feel at that point of time, is our commitment towards our people. And that, I think that these moments test you as a leader. We stood by our people. We found solution for our people. We all took a cut. I mean, we were very transparent in telling our people that, look, this is a challenge. and we actually shared our balance sheet openly, that this is the balance sheet, this is what we have, this is the support item we need. So that's one thing that I learned as a leader. Second, how you took the team into this digital space, because there were a lot of teachers who were apprehensive teaching online. So the first couple of weeks, we just did training. So they were trained. They were not being told to deliver, And then the transition happened. There are some who couldn't make the transition. And we are still connected. So the whole, I feel in these times, you show the value system of a company. And it is even currently our biggest need and, focus that we must stand by our people, because these are difficult times. So I think that's something that was for us to deliver.
That was a wonderful show of leadership, I should say. Yes, over to Vinay sir.
So, rightly put by Umesh sir, Ratanji and Tanuja ma'am, that, the right mindset, technology, interaction with the customer, and, combined all of that with a very efficient leadership. So we were blessed by our managing director, Mr. Venkateshan, who kept saying that innovation for customer success. So you innovate thinking only for the customer, not thinking about what technology you're using, how you're going to solve the problem, but first understanding what is that would make customers' life easy, the end user. End of the day, every business runs because to make a human or a process efficient. So looking from that perspective, really gave us a good direction from the board and the leadership, that okay, now we are looking out at a particular set of problems, then getting the right mindset, choosing the right technology, and the appropriate decisions for customer success became a bit easy for innovation.
All right. Thank you, Vinay sir. Moving forward, one thing I would really like to tell at this moment is, I think we should all be very proud of ourselves, right? Like how Umesh sir started. There was a pause, there was a stop, and all that. There was a pandemic, and then the world came to a standstill, and then there was a peak of pandemic. Then the COVID vaccines came. One of the lots of things are happening. But look at us, like we are still going, we are still hitting ground and running, and we are doing something or the other to make sure that our business is still running, and we are still doing a lot of productivity, and we are making profits out of it, right? So yes, I think we should all be really very proud of ourselves and a pat on ourselves, because no one else is going to give. We are going to give for ourselves. So a good round of applause to all the panelists. I think let's do a little, very interesting, or rather kind of lifestyle kind of a question. So during this pandemic, what did you read or write? I mean, read or watch to get business updates. So very particularly for business updates, what did you read or watch? I'd like to understand from Umesh sir.
Well, reading and watching, I think that was the only thing which we were doing in the first 3-4
Everyone.
months. So, so if you ask me very honestly, there's a lots and lots.
Okay.
So talking about myself, I read practically whichever came on my way, and I'm very honest. I would have consumed the 12 issues of Harvard Business Review, which was lying on my desk just behind, and which I could not have. I had not touched it because of the busy schedule. The first 2 months, I had enough of time, and I just finished the all 12 pending issues. So you can do it. I read a lot, physical forms. Then I read whatever the pending books in my behind my store was there. I just read all of them. A lot of say reading on the digital platform, and it really helped me. It really helped me.
Wonderful.
And the
Right.
third thing, I also finished my a book which I had just half completed on the leadership and the topic. So I just completed even that book, and that itself was a very fulfilling journey for me during this pandemic.
Amazing, sir. Thank you, Umesh sir. Yes, as he said, we were all, the most of the time, the thing we were doing is either reading or watching something. Is over to Radharaman sir.
I don't think I ever watched so much or attended so much Zoom meeting as I probably did during the COVID time. It was 10, 15 meetings during the whole day. But then the most important element was I tried to upgrade myself in terms of the gaps in my competencies and knowledge. So I attended 4 or 5 different courses just to get, keep the mind active rather than become idle. Sitting at home after 2 3 months becomes a little bit dangerous for people who are actually busy working around and moving around, because you cannot go out anywhere. You're virtually locked in there. So this is what I was doing, going through this thing. Reading, I had a lot of fiction novels lying around the place. I've not got time to read. I finished. There's nothing available there because you can't go out. The shops were not open. So everything was so. I followed the entire circus in US, the US election. Okay, so I was watching CNN morning, evening, afternoon, trying to see what is that new development over there. It's NDTV, CNN, and BBC with 3 channels that I was really, and then maybe the Times of India channel. I was just watching them almost 2 to 3 times a day.
All right. Thank you, Radha Ramansa. Yes, that is ma'am. Over to you.
So, frankly, I have a 9-year-old at home, and as a mother, I've never given this much time. So, in my life, I could never cook. Okay, I must say, I could never do. I have now done that as a checklist. That chalo, I have showed my daughter I can do something. So that's what I whenever I found time. But with regards to knowledge and everything, it's podcast. I'm a podcast person. I listen. I love podcasts. It's at your convenience. You can listen at any point of time. So there are lots of favorite podcasts. Like there is a Guy Raz podcast called How I Built This. That's my favorite. So just podcast. Largely, I wish I had also read more like y'all, but yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. I seriously doubt if every house had a COVID case, but during this pandemic, every house had a new cook or baker emerging out of it. Right?
True.
Yes.
True.
Yes. Is O to Vinay, sir?
So I am a millennial kid. So a lot of time that I realized that was spent on social media. By following the right set of people, you could actually get the right knowledge. Every smart person out there is posting some or the other fantastic content on LinkedIn. There are AI blogs written on a platform called as Medium, a podcast, very interesting podcast, people sharing their opinions. And also, there was a huge kind of drama around a particular murder mystery by a few news channels. So in that, I really found my solace in DD News channel. And I could not imagine that it was such an informative tool talking about startups and growth and always a very positive outlook towards life.
True.
And the last set of reading, which is currently a continuous study, I believe, is a bit of Vedantic philosophy that has actually grabbed my attention, and I like to pursue that.
Wonderful.
So this were the basic set of readings that has happened.
Amazing, amazing, sir. So lots and lots of interesting stuffs.
Muthu, I just have to make a comment because
Yes,
you
sir.
asked a question about only what we read. But I just would like to say very honestly, in this pandemic, I also gave a lot to the society.
Wonderful.
I've been a mentor for startups and scale up operations for more than 30,
All right.
which is what I did, and it's absolutely free of cost. So it's more of
Wonderful.
a giving back to the society. I
Wonderful, sir.
also been to at least 200 seminars or the roundtables, including one of you now,
Mhm.
where I have shared my knowledge and experience with people. So it's not only gathering and gaining during the pandemic. I think I did more of giving back to the society. I also helped at least 25 to 30 SMEs to redefine their business strategy.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah. So that's I thought it's not only gaining. I think I also did a lot of giving back to the society in different forms.
Sure. Wonderful, sir. Wonderful. So moving to the one last question of today's session, but since the time is pressing, I'd like to do it a little quick. Like one, you can just name one. I just would love to understand who is your inspiration or your biggest influencer. So this will be the last question of the day. So let's wrap it quickly. I'll again start with Umesh sir. Over to you.
Well, it's difficult to answer, to be very honest. There is no one person, with 35 years of industry experience. There is no one person whom I can count upon as an inspiration or or you can say the guru or a guide. particularly. But yes, but since you asked the question, I have to give an answer. So sorry for that. I will look up to our honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi, because I think the leading country like an India in this such a troubled time requires a strong leadership. Just leave politics aside. Okay, any individual at that chair has to be a very strong leader, a very focused leader, a result oriented leader, and at the same time he has to be a compassionate, because he
True.
has to take care of the health of the society. Mind boggling characteristics are required if you have to drive a 1.2 billion nation. And I think that's an amazing inspiration, not only for me, but I think it should be for all of us. As I said, leave the politics aside. Look up to such kind of leaders who have, driven the nation, and we have, successfully passed the COVID challenge. COVID challenge is behind us. As you rightly said, that look at the vaccines has come back from India, and one of the most economical vaccines in the world are produced by us.
True.
I think it requires a strong leadership. So that's what I look up to.
Wonderful. Wonderful, sir. Yes, over to Radharaman, sir.
Yeah, at my age, you start wondering when life ends here, because you reach that age. Then I look at Ratan Tata and said he also started his career very late. I mean, he went 18 years when we thought he's just going to retire and go away. I said, okay, yeah, he's inspiration to have a long inning in the business. So yes, for me, he's the inspiration.
Rataji
Though
is
I
an
mean,
inspiration.
not that in that sense, but yes,
Wonderful.
someone to look at.
Wonderful. Yes, over to Tanuja, ma'am.
I think for me, it's my mom.
All right.
My mom has been, she's 78, 79. Her resilience, she's a very advanced Parkinson's patient, but I feel she just doesn't realize that she has that. Her resilience, her ability. Even now, if I tell her, let's go on to Zoom, she'll get on to Zoom, Facebook, and she genuinely, she can't even maneuver it. But in her mind, those are not the challenges. I think that's what I would look up to. For me, she's always stood like the pillar of strength. And yes, I mean, for me, it's clearly whatever I am, it's because of her.
Wonderful. Wonderful, ma'am. Yes, over to Vinay, sir.
It is indeed a difficult question. Like Umesh sir mentioned, getting one single person would not be right. But yes, being locked down at home, family, parents have been, people we look up to, how they have remained calm in so many variety of situation, just to, take one more day and, give us as a person a hope of tomorrow. And apart from that, during the reading activities, I find a lot of inspiration from Vivekananda ji and Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. We are from Maharashtra, so that is a sense of gratitude of what he has done in the past for us as well. Gives us courage.
Amazing, amazing, Vinay, sir. I think I would also like to share my perspective. If it were yesterday, I think it would have been even more coincidental, because it was the birthday of Jamsetji yesterday, right? So what a man he is. I think he is the father of modern Indian industry, right? So I think we would definitely have to look at him, the amount of innovations he had made, and the amount of the contribution he has made towards the development of modern economy. So all hail to Jamshedji. Yes, with that note, we are at the end of today's session. But before we close, I'd like to invite Janice for crisp closing thoughts. Over to you.
Thank you once again, Radharaman, Tanuja, Vijay, Umesh. I think personally, I have gained a lot of insights from each of one of your industries, and I'm happy that there are several industries who are looking positive, and one of you who have done better than the last year. So I mean, that's really great news, and I thank you so much, and we'll definitely look forward to your participation in our future sessions. Thank you. Thank you.